Carnage, issue number 2. Somewhere in America, every serial killer believes they are a god. However, when you claim someone's life, when fear consumes them and they realize that everything standing between life and death is you, then you become their god. Cletus Cassidy ends the lives of a few office workers in their building and heads towards another man to put an end to his life. "No, please," he pleads, but Cletus's eyes turn bloody red, craving death. Why me?" asks the desperate man about to meet his end. "That is the question. Who are you?" asks Cletus. As he gets cornered, the man stutters, and in order to save himself from being killed, he spills information about himself. "Mark Johnson, I'm the senior sales evangelist," says John in a shaky voice, not ready to be killed. "Is that so? Is that who you are?" "Well, Mark, senior sales evangelist. Long ago, we picked our first victim at random from the phone book. I still remember his name, Gunther Stein," says Cletus as he transforms into Carnage symbiote. "Do you think that holds some value, that I remember his name?" "No, neither do I," he finishes, grinning. At Flash Thompson's apartment, he sits on his couch with some information and a laptop on his coffee table, continuing to listen to a podcast on his phone about the recent killings happening in America. Eager to act, the symbiote squirms impatiently inside Flash Thompson, yet the man seems unable to pull away from the noise of the world. The woman on the podcast announces the death of 7 people. "Why is this not covered by the mainstream media?" says the woman. They talk about Nathaniel Jones, the billionaire playboy, but no one is talking about the other victims, Simon Anderson and Matthew Vincrest. It begs the question, if all the others had taken lives in some form or another, was Nathaniel Jones really a murderer? And if so, how did he kill their disciples? "Nathaniel, Matthew, Philip, Simon, they're all disciples," says the woman. C left the questions at the crime scene. Where is Peter? Where is John? Is it up to us to find him? "I think it is," says another man on the podcast, with his face blurred to protect his privacy. C is what the people have collectively agreed to call this killer. Carnage speaks, and the world listens. Once more, the symbiote nudges its host. "I know, I want to know what he's up to," says Flash Thompson. He needs to prove that Carnage is the one behind all these killings happening around America, so he can serve justice to the people who have passed away at Carnage's hands and protect the people Carnage can take as victims. As Flash looks at the information about the killings on his table, he knows for a fact that 7 people have died, all within 12 hours, and all in different states, all across America. The killings are all meticulously numbered. Nathaniel was number 12, which means 5 victims are missing. "Carnage has our attention because he wants our attention," says Flash. On the TV, the news anchor lady says that the people call the murders he has committed impossible murder. Nathaniel was taken from his penthouse and killed in broad daylight in the middle of hustling and bustling Times Square. There are absolutely no witnesses to the kidnapping, and no one under the sun can explain how the killer ran across states in a matter of a few hours. It's impossible. Flash raises a question. To what end? Cletus, in his brown trench coat, makes his way into a bar while fighting his inner thoughts. Scratch the surface and you reveal the real world, all red and raw, senseless. "What's bothering you, Cletus?" That's to say the previous me, have been alive all along, yet this is the best he could do," says Cletus out loud, acting like a crazy person to the bystanders. "We are better now. We are more powerful," says the inner voice. "Perhaps. But he, the other one, he is a loose thread, and I would like to pull it," thinks Cletus. "Do you think he would stand in our way?" says the inner voice. "Nothing can stand in our way, my love. I am the end of the world as we know it," thinks Cletus. As he steps into the bar, the sound of the news echoes through the room. The news talks about the loss of Nathaniel Jones. The investigators are still at a loss to figure out how the murder was committed. The news anchor continues to talk about housing problems in the US. Cletus tells the bartender that he wants a drink. The bartender finds Cletus familiar and asks if his father has ever come to this bar, since Cletus looks like the spitting image of him. "Yeah, he loves this place," says Cletus. "When did you last see my daddy?" he asks. "I don't know, a few weeks ago," says the bartender. Cletus says that's good and asks for a bourbon. It's the same as his dad likes. Cletus continues to have a conversation with himself in his mind. What is the difference between a madman and a prophet? Imagination? Branding? A good pair of robes? He wonders. After receiving his drink, he thanks the bartender and thinks that he can kill everyone in this bar right this instant. Why don't we? Says the inner voice. Cletus thinks that it's the same reason a benevolent God doesn't wipe away all illness and pain. But why didn't he? I can smell him. He was here. Every time he'd come here, he'd sit right here. Here's another question. What came first, the carnage or the anger? He wonders as he sits on the chair to have his drink. It's inevitable, right? Says Flash. That's why the mainstream media isn't connecting Nathan's murder to all the others yet. It requires a leap of faith to believe the same person could be behind these simultaneous murders. It is. What's the word for a bad miracle? Is there one? Because we are watching a miracle. A podcaster says Philip is a mass murderer, and he wonders if he actually deserves any sympathy. He doesn't, but the people still deserve to know the truth about his death. The silence of the media is in many ways a confirmation. Do you know how to break the world? Says Flash. You take these people who see conspiracy in everything, who spread distrust and preach divisiveness, and make them right. The podcaster continues to tell his viewers that the media is trying to distract them, and they lie and lie and lie some more. But we all know the truth. The scene continues to the conspiracy theorist's home, where he continues to talk about the truth. This has been Travis Brookfield's Field Reports. He tells his viewers he will be back tomorrow with an update in the morning. And in the meantime, he calls his viewers fielders and tells them to stay vigilant since there's a storm coming. The viewers like Travis's work and applaud him for his bravery. As soon as his podcast live finishes, his mom barges in and throws some clothes at him. Have you seen the damn time? I swear, if you lose this job, you're out of here, says the enraged mother. I'm going now, Mom, says Travis, not wearing any pants. Switching scenes to Flash, it feels like a past life, and in some ways, it is. Flash Thompson wonders why the victories of that time feel so far away when the losses still feel so urgent and overwhelming. Flash heads outside his home and locks the door as he leaves. The symbiote feels his gloom. Anti-venom tightens some invisible grip on him like a hug from within. And not for the first time, the man wonders what he would do without the symbiote. Flash heads inside a pub and meets Arya. Hey Arya, I wanted to apologize for what happened the other day, says Flash with guilt in his tone. No worries, Flash, we're good, says Arya with a smile on her face. Even so, Flash is still so sorry. Thanks, Flash, says Arya in a forgiving tone. She continues to tell Flash that someone is waiting for him, a woman. Flash grins and tells Arya that she's just a friend. Good thing too. You look like shit, Flash, says Arya. Flash thanks Arya for the pep talk and heads to the woman waiting for him. It's Elizabeth Allen, old friend and CEO of Alchemax. There you are, says Elizabeth, who gets up from her seat to hug Flash. Flash does not know if he can trust Elizabeth. He doesn't know if he can trust anyone, but he knows that she will listen and understand. After a heartfelt hug, Flash tells Elizabeth that it's been a long time and it's good to see her. As they sit down to chat, Elizabeth tells Flash that she can feel it too, but Cletus Cassidy is dead. Iron Man melted him as far as Liz understands. She supposed the symbiote could have survived, but she still doubts it. This is Cletus Cassidy, Liz. This is Carnage, says Flash. Cletus Cassidy rides his car and continues to have a conversation with himself. Why are we driving? Asks the inner voice. Why do pilgrims walk? Says Cletus Cassidy. Is this a spiritual journey? Asks the voice. Something like that, Cletus Cassidy replies. What about? Asks the voice. He'll come to us, says Cletus Cassidy. Are you sure? He's important to me, to what we are trying to do, says the voice. Give him some time to enjoy the mystery, says Cletus Cassidy. You can always trust a dog with a bone. He will come to us, and this is important, says Cassidy as he meets a hitchhiker. Good morning, says Cassidy to the hitchhiker. Thanks, man. Blessed be. Freezing out here. Don't worry, I'm not an axe murderer or anything, says the man as he steps into Cassidy's car, who eerily smiles and says, Neither am I. Axes make a bloody mess. 10 minutes later, as Cassidy continues to drive his car, he converses with the hitchhiker. Cletus Cassidy asks the hitchhiker what he thinks the difference is between a madman and a prophet. The hitchhiker likes this question and responds that he thinks a prophet speaks divine truth, and if you speak from the heart, you're like a prophet for the universe, and that can never be madness. Sometimes I think, if I wrote a book like the Book of Mark, where I'd tell my truth, like my experiences, I would live forever, says the hitchhiker Mark. Wait, your name is Mark? Well, I'll be. I've been thinking about patterns lately, Mark, says Cletus Cassidy with a grim smile on his face. Cletus Cassidy explains to Mark that humans love their patterns and their signs. If there is a pattern, you can follow it, predict it, and find out what it means, and how humans love to find meaning. Of course, Cletus Cassidy knows that there is no meaning. Signs are confirmation bias and delusion, a safety blanket for the weak of mind. Cletus believes that the universe is nothing but chaos, a beautiful, terrifying anarchy of chaos. But when Mark, bringer of fools, got into my car today, that feels like a sign to me, says Cletus Cassidy as he turns into Carnage to kill Mark. Mark whips out a knife and asks Cletus who the hell he is. He introduces himself as Carnage as he holds onto Mark as the car goes flying off the edge. Mark gets his guts slit open by Carnage and dies. This is the 5th Mark to die today, a pattern in the sand, a roadmap to nowhere for people to follow into a conspiracy of nothing. A sign that welcomed people into Newmarket is now bloodied by the hands of Cletus Cassidy, who writes the Book of Mark on the sign with Mark's blood and puts his head on the sign. Another man comes up and tells Cletus Cassidy to turn around slowly and raise his hands up. The man points his gun at Cletus in order to scare him. I love you, says Cletus as he turns around to face the man. Back with Liz and Flash after 2 drinks, they talk about Carnage, and Flash shows a note to Liz which has blood on it, but it doesn't seem to be from the same source, at least not the same day. It looks like the blood has been applied in stages. Flash doesn't have any resources. He asks Liz if she can take a look at it since Alchemax can figure out what kind of blood it is, maybe even who it belongs to. Flash wants it ASAP, as in tonight. Sure, Flash, we'll take a look, but listen, don't go looking for trouble, okay? Says Liz. I'm not. Thanks, Liz. I appreciate it, says Flash as Liz gets up to leave. Arya is glad that it wasn't a date, and Flash asks if he looks like he's looking for trouble. Arya replies that no, but Flash doesn't look away when he sees it. It's a big difference, and that's not a bad thing. It's rare and good, and might not always work out, but it's alright in Arya's opinion. Meanwhile, Cletus Cassidy drags a body down the streets, the man who threatened Cletus with a gun. Cletus keeps talking, but the poor man is in pain and can't talk much. As he makes his way down a gutter, he leaves the body on his way to a room and heads to a room where his dad is. What is the difference between a madman and a prophet? Asks Cletus from his dad. The audience, replies the old man. Travis continues his podcast and promotes a product. After doing so, he talks about Thomas, one of the 2 missing apostles. They have confirmed that a woman named Eva Thomas was found murdered with the now famous number carved into the skin on her back. That means the only missing apostle is John. Where is John? He asked the question and wrote it on Nathaniel's glass tomb. Is he looking for John? Is it a warning, or is it a message, or some kind of a call to action? Travis tells his viewers that the world might hide from the truth, but he won't. He is listening. Switching scenes to Cletus, he turns into Carnage and looks down on his old man since he can't do anything without him. He can't even walk. Suddenly, the old man opens up a lighter and fills the room with gas. The air ignites. First come the flames, then comes the fury. Carnage devours his flesh and bones with ease. But somewhere inside the symbiote, the old man laughs. Flash Thompson knows he will not get ahead by following the crumbs left by Carnage, but he can still feel himself getting sucked into the puzzle. The dead disciples, the dead marks. The interest is alive. The excitement is infectious. It feels like a game, but Flash knows it's not. There is no winning in this. The best thing he can hope for is to stop. Flash gets a call from Liz, who tells him that the blood on the piece of paper was from at least 13 different people in the spiral. She has managed to identify most of them, but 2 are victims of Carnage's alleged murder spree. The other 2 men are John Statler Baker, and the other one is Flash. The blood of Flash is on the paper. The police are after Liz to hand over the proof, and Flash asks if she can hold it off for a bit. This could be important, and there's only one official investigation. Flash asks Liv to give him 1 day, and she agrees. Flash throws his phone on the ground, filled with frustration. Meanwhile, Carnage is injured. It burns. It feels like his very being is on fire. He asks the old man what he did. He coughs out to the old man.
"You poisoned me,"
says Carnage.
"Well, you tried to eat me as I figured you would,"
says the old man in an injured state. Flash watches the same podcaster who talks about the murders. He tells his viewers that Carnage is not a serial killer. That would be like calling Da Vinci a painter. Flash feels a spark of excitement. Meanwhile, Cletus mutilates the old man, wanting the blood from the brain of the old man. The brain matter burns the symbiote inside. It's a welcome pain. The man fights. Carnage absorbs what is left of him. His spirit, his logic, himself. It's time. Flash knows it might be a trap. He knows Carnage might be waiting for him, but the truth is he wants a fight. Cletus walks down a street into the place where Flash is about to arrive. Flash Thompson does his best imitation of an ordinary man. The symbiote disguises him well, gives him a costume, changes his fingerprints, and shrinks his muscles into a non-threatening frame. In a world of disappointment, Flash is not disappointing. His symbiote ears will hear what no one else does, muffled and far away, yet still there. He will smell the faint scent of feces and blood, and he will want to do the right thing himself. Flash walks into the place and turns on the lights, where he sees a man's head exploding.